Good evening and welcome to the Wakefield School Committee meeting of Tuesday, November 13th, 2018. As our custom, I'd like to open the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And with the committee's indulgence, I would like to a moment of silence in recognition of our former colleague, Bill Chetwynd, who passed away this week. Thank you. Bill was a very dedicated member of this committee for many, many years. He chaired 2 or 3 times, and it remained active throughout his entire life. After he left the committee, he worked on WAVE. He was active with the Boys and Girls Club, and it would be tremendous loss to our community. I will open with a reading of the mission statement. The vision of the Wakefield Public Schools is to graduate students who are confident, lifelong learners, who are respectful and caring members of their community. Our mission is to prepare students for college, career, and community by providing rich and challenging curriculum, high-quality instruction, and educational experiences that meet their individual needs and interests. Is there anybody from the public who wishes to comment? Okay, seeing no one. Student Advisory Council.
So I have a lot of athletic updates. So last week, the football team had a huge win against Boston Latin, winning 49-28. So that was really exciting. And as everyone knows, the Thanksgiving game is coming up, and tickets will probably go on sale soon. And the pep rally always follows the game the night before. So that's another exciting thing coming up. And then last week, the Powder Puff game happened, which, for those of you who don't know, is a game where the girls' junior class plays against the girls' senior class, and it's coached by the boys on the Wakefield football team. And the seniors won 20-6, and even though it was pretty competitive, it was a great way to band the grades together. And then the dance and cheer teams both recently competed. The dance team placed first in all styles and hip-hop and received one of the highest overall scores. And the cheer team placed 9th but had a strong performance despite the many injuries they had. Also, the cross-country team just competed in the state meet with the boys placing 2nd and the girls placing 16th. And I have that Cinderella starts on Thursday at 7:30 and will run Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then on Sunday it is at 2, and all of those are taking place at the Galvin. And Term 2 just recently started up, and I believe report cards are supposed to come out tonight, so hopefully students are finally adjusting to the school year. And then parent-teacher conferences start November 29th, and last Monday we had a Learn Anywhere practice day. So those are all the updates I have.
Great. Could you tell me, is the Thanksgiving Day home or away?
It's home this year.
Home this year.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
Can I ask about Learn
Sure.
Anywhere? How did the Learn Anywhere practice go?
I'd say that, honestly, it was a mixed bag throughout some of my classes. Most of my classes recognized it and we had assignments, but I also had various classes that we didn't get any assignments and we just continued through a normal class period.
Got it. Thank you.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Well, thank you.
Nice job.
Consent agenda. A motion, please.
Sure, Move that the school committee approve the minutes of the school committee meeting of October 23, 2018, and accept the minutes of the school committee finance and facilities subcommittee meeting of October 16th, 2018, as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any questions? Okay, all those in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, business items, Mr. Piffling.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I hope you got my email about a half an hour ago, realizing that your packet did not include all of the business reports. They are hard copy in front of you, so I'll jump right in. I'm just going to hit some highlights here. Line 4, aides, paraprofessionals, instructional support personnel. That line is continues to be out of whack a little bit. About 145,000 of that is probably due to the fact that we haven't gotten the grant in yet, and the remaining probably $160,000 thereof is the additional resources that we reallocated from special education tuitions to cover students who moved back into district who required some additional supports in the classroom. So, that number should come back into check when the grant finally does come in. It's the IDEA 240 grant. It's an entitlement grant that we get every year. We know we have already got it. We've already been told the amount. We've already planned out where the money's going to go. About $720,000, I believe, is going to go to special education paraprofessionals. So as you see right now, we're negative 315, but we will be getting $720,000 to offset that, or some portion of that.
So you're saying that we had some students come back into district, so we saved money, I guess,
On their tuition
on their
plans.
tuition. But we're spending a little bit more money
We are.
on
There
the
were-
supports that they need now that they're here. Just trying to understand.
Yes, that and, we're correct. For the students
Okay.
who came back into district, or who were planning to go out of district and never went, we were able to retain them in district, using additional supports in district.
Okay.
And when that happens, there's certainly a cost to the employee, for the employee that we have to hire to assist, but we don't pay the tuition, nor do we pay the transportation cost, both of which can be extraordinarily high. So, or, I mean, not all of them, but, typically an out-of-district placement's gonna run you between, at a minimum, $60,000 between tuition and transportation a
Right.
year. And a para, an ISP, anywhere under, somewhere around 25,000. So,
Gotcha.
we save about at least half. On some of the private placements, it's substantially more for the placement in the transportation. So, we would be saving a lot more money by keeping them in district. But we did have some instances this year where we had to add extra paraprofessional support, specifically at the Doyle School, early in the year, because we had some students who required additional resources. Those students would never plan to go out of district, but had they gone out of district, we'd be having a different conversation about special education tuition lines versus paraprofessional lines. So, and it would be a much heavier burden to the budget reports
Right.
had they gone out of district. So, we do know that we are going to be heavy on paraprofessional salaries this year, but we are going to be under on special education out-of-district tuitions.
Gotcha.
So we should be close to a wash, but we're still watching it closely.
Okay,
Closely.
thank you.
Any other questions on the power line?
Yeah. Last month, you had encumbered everybody you had, and you had an overdraft of 247.
Correct.
Now it's grown to 315. Does that mean you hired additional people this month?
No, I only encumbered the paraprofessionals that were going to be paid out of the local budget. So every time I pay more paraprofessionals out of the local budget, because the grant hasn't come in, that
Okay.
number is going to increase. I did not encumber the IDEA
Okay.
paraprofessionals, at least not out of this line.
So that
And
makes
I haven't done it out of any line just because the grant hasn't come in, but
Okay.
feel confident that it will come in. Well, we know it's coming in, it's just a
Yeah.
matter of.
Right.
There's not a concern by any means that this grant won't come in. It's already in, but we
Right.
just haven't received our confirmation yet. The other line I just want to point out is line 8, that's pupil transportation. You'll notice we went from about a $900,000 surplus to about a $470,000 surplus. That's because I encumbered the regular ed transportation, the in-town buses, the big buses. But we have not yet encumbered the special education vans that go out of district. Not our vans, but the vans that we contract with NRT, Caring Choice, Action Ambulance, depending on the case and where they're going. We typically use 3 or 4 contractors, and I have not yet encumbered those yet. We were looking to see, the price of those vans varies depending on the number of children that are on the van. So if we have 2 kids going to just, let's say, Seam and Stoneham, and Reading puts 2 kids on the same van, we cost share that van, but the transportation company does it for us. All of a sudden, one of those kids drops off, or we add another kid on, the share changes every month. So it's not an exact science as to how many kids are on the van or our cost share for each one. So we kind of look at trends, and we'll start encumbering now that 2 months have gone by. So. And on line 15, you'll notice that we are also overspent in that line. That is because we did made the big purchase for all the computer equipment. And
15?
16, instructional supplies?
Okay, 16.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, not tuition, on payment. Yeah, the instructional supplies, we purchased all the equipment, and then we get the money back from the leasing company after everything's been invoiced and paid. So we've paid all the invoices. The check has come back in. Carol did deposit it last week, but not in time to make these reports. So that line will be in check next month with a surplus. Any questions on the local budget? Great. Skip ahead to, I'm not going to really report on grants. There's nothing to report on grants right now. Not all the grants are in. So I'll go right to the revolving accounts. Food service checking in very well. Athletics is checking in fine. Building rental, just to let you know that number did take a dip. The majority of that dip went because of the lighting replacement at the Galvin in the auditorium. We used building rental money to cover those expenses.
They look very nice, though.
They do. And I have to say, when we were there for opening day, they were very blinding because I don't think the covers were on them yet. And now that the
No,
covers...
those were temporary lights.
Oh, temporary lights, okay. I was going to go with the covers weren't on yet, but they were blinding. They don't seem quite as blinding.
Oh,
We were in there last week.
Town meeting was very nice.
Wakefield Academy continues to be, again, a strong point for us. And we did receive our first payment for circuit breaker, so that number is a deficit right now of $817,000 because we have encumbered tuitions, but of that 817, we're expecting 1.3 million in. So truly, we probably have a surplus in the circuit breaker account of a little over $400,000. But that, again, that's kind of our life preserver for kids who might go out of district. So I wouldn't bank on $400,000 at the end of the year, but you never know. But that is kind of, circuit breakers are our life preserver prior to going to stabilization, which is our life raft, I guess. So that's all I have to report, unless there's any questions. All right, I think the next item up is capital, and we'll have Maria come up and join us because she's done a tremendous amount of work on the capital plan that'll be submitted to the town pending your endorsement. So if it's okay, I'll turn it over to Maria and Doug.
Good evening, everyone. So in your package, you will have received the capital requests that have been tiered in order of priority. The capital process is one that we work with each one of the building principals on. We analyze each building, any of the deficiencies we see, any of the opportunities to create stronger environments to support teaching and learning. Certainly life safety is one of our primary objectives as we start to pull together the list. Just as a level set point, any item over $5,000 is considered capital. From here, the process will go once the listing is endorsed by this committee. The superintendent will submit it to the DPW director, and then it starts that process with the capital planning committee on the town side as well as the FinCom committee before it ultimately gets blended, melded, melted down in some cases to be presented at the town meeting in May for approval. So in Tier 1 priorities, you'll see a variety of priorities broken down by school. Again, life safety items and elements are on there. Certainly, I point to Doyle with a sprinkler system and a fire alarm upgrade there. as being primary. PA system upgrades, you'll see some transportation vans listed as well, and Synovia, which is a GPS tracking system, technology, some modest projector replacements there. And for the high school, HVAC is always our goal, to create and support spaces that quality teaching and learning can continue to thrive in. Tier 2 priorities, and I should say Tier 1 priorities are those that have been designated by the district as critical to the district and to supporting, again, the teaching and learning. Tier 2, there's still a priority, but they're less critical in nature. And Tier 3 are a longer-term priority. Understanding that while we would absolutely be thrilled if we received every single item on our Tier 1, we also are practical and want to be reasonable and responsible in terms of our requests through the town. And so we acknowledge that as well. But these items have been honed to the point where these are the priorities in terms of how we're looking to support the school's facilities.
Did you want to go into anything on the Greenwood's roof replacement in Tier 1?
So the Greenwood roof replacement, thank you, Mike, for the prompt, has been longstanding on our capital request listing. It has been evident on the listing as long as I've been here, so I arrived in 2015, which would have been fiscal year 16. And it's a large amount of money, and it's always been existing on the town's plan. That said, this past year, we've really started to experience the dire state of that roof, actively leaking in teaching and learning spaces, having to relocate teachers, having to relocate services, just to the point where it's disruptive. And so that for us is really rises to the top in terms of priority, and our request is that though it exists in the town's 15-year capital planning, that it be somehow appropriated for fiscal 20.
I think the cost estimate that you've got now is $650,000, just for the committee members, yeah.
I think that's why we have to bring this to the DPW and the
Right.
Finance Committee, but
Right.
this, with that price tag,
Right.
and knowing what the town has for capital monies, this may have to be a separate warrant
Right,
article. So
right.
there
The
are
same,
discussions
yeah.
that we've had, but we have not had with the town
Right,
or
right.
anybody else. So,
Right.
you know, I don't want to insinuate that there will be,
Right.
but there's a discussion of how do we make this happen?
Yeah.
And again, we'll work with our FinCon liaisons.
It's of a scale that's different than everything else on this list.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I've been thinking about the roof replacement since our last subcommittee meeting, and I'm just wondering, like, what can we do to not necessarily ensure, but to actively engage with the capital folks on making this a true priority?
So I would say the Finance and Facilities Subcommittee, in conjunction and in that relationship, that great working relationship with FinCom, certainly I think that would be where the outreach could occur. I have no doubt that the superintendent will also continue to support that in his conversations with the town.
I think when we do make a motion for you to endorse this plan as a starting point, and that's just a starting point, just in endorsing it as a Tier 1 ask is, I think, the first step that we could use your help with.
I think that this has been on the list since Marie said since she's been here, but it's been on the list since I've been here, and every year we kick it down the road because it hasn't been a problem. I think when I got here, there was a concern that it wasn't secured to the cap of the roof, so there was some concern that if we had some massive hurricane type event, it could be a problem, but we hadn't in many years had that type of event here, so it was kicked down the road because the roof wasn't leaking, it wasn't structurally disintegrating, or I don't even know what word to use. It's now to the point where they are spending money every year, patching, repairing, fixing this roof to the point that it is interrupting, as Maria said, the learning space of the building. It was never affecting the learning space before. Everything was sound as far as it wasn't leaking, but now it's gotten to the point where
Right.
it's how much more money do we put into a roof that should have been replaced 10 years ago?
Right, I mean, so we have two major issues with this roof. One is the obvious leaking, you can see it, it's interrupting classroom time and people needing to move out of the space. But it's also not secured to the building itself, and that's a problem.
I think you could take it to a third level also, and when water gets into a building, other things happen that you don't always see right away. You know, and I'm not suggesting that there is, but
Right.
you never know where that water's going to once it gets through that barrier on the roof.
Right, so, I mean, other than just having it listed here on the capital request, it's one of many, it's a lot of money, like, you know, I want to throw whatever support I have, or I can throw, behind this particular ask, because it is, it's reached critical stage. This is not a nice to have. This is a must-have, in my opinion.
I noticed in your subcommittee minutes that you did not plan to engage the FinCom until after the first of the year.
No, when we discussed that, I think that was a question, and the answer was, no, we should do it sooner, so,
Okay.
yeah,
I
yeah,
would-
yeah.
I
And
would-
this is, of course, reinforcing why
Right.
that's important,
Yeah,
yeah,
and,
yeah.
and I think the sooner the better. You know, we had a really smooth year last year.
Yeah.
By engaging with them early and often.
Yeah,
And I think that's something, you know, you really should be on track with.
yeah, I agree. I was just,
Go ahead.
if I could, Chris, yeah, thanks. In response to Ann's question too, I think we could also look at a case we made for the Walton School as a model, because I think as soon as the community, the finance committee, the town administrator, the town council, they understood that the building problems were really getting in the way of quality education, quality learning experiences for kids there. Then we were able to make a strong case for that, obviously bigger and more complex project. But I think it's a similar case we can make for the Greenwood. I think the support is there, but we have to be, I think, and to Chris's point with the FinCom, most immediately, crystal clear about why this is important. So, and we can do that.
I think it's been our experience that the DPW always wants to help,
Right.
but it's like negotiating a funnel, right?
Right.
And so we have, several requests just on the school side,
Yeah.
and they have their own kind of prioritizing as well, which is why Greenwood has slid off. So, that may mean some modified plan this year where they're replacing a section of the roof and something, but this is where, I defer to them, and they've done, I think, really great work when challenged in these ways.
Yeah.
And so, let's see what we can come up with.
Another area that I'd just would like to highlight also for the high school, the walk-in freezer and refrigerator rehab and repairs. Right now, we have 3 freezers and 2 refrigerators, walk-in all of them. The high school supports our satellite lunch program as well, so creating all of the lunch meals that are served throughout the district, with the exception of Galvin. Those units are forever old. They are forever failing. It really has reached critical mass. It's a safety issue. There icing, significant icing, significant dollars spent in just trying to defrost and make them usable, render them usable. Not if, when we get the new high school. Certainly, those will be considered in that plan. Until that point, though, we still need to maintain those spaces, and they are food safety requirements and guidelines really need to be met. We get a certain amount of food each month from the federal government, commodities. Those are large orders. When we lose them, we lose money. And so there's a significant impact to our food services department in the school, so.
Is it the bigger freezer that you're talking about out
The
on the dock?
large one outside, the 2 interior, as well as the 2 walk-in refrigerators. So every single refrigeration unit here in the high school has been experiencing issue. And so it's an amount that we are requesting. It may rehab 4, it may only rehab 2 once we get into it. They have to be taken apart completely and with new condensing units, new gaskets, new
Insulation,
mechanicals.
the flooring.
Yeah, absolutely.
They
Rehab.
are, if you walked into them right now, they are a tile floor. Now you add moisture and freezer temperatures to that, it becomes.
Slippery.
Very slippery. We've been fortunate so far, knock on wood. There's another piece to this too. We do have freezer alarms and refrigerator alarms. So when they hit a certain temperature, when the freezers fail, they hit a certain temperature, we get notification through the freezer alarms. But that means we bring staff in, they move it from one fridge to another fridge or from one freezer to another freezer. We bring in the company, they make repairs, new condensers, new coils, whatever happens, new gaskets right now is what they're working on. It's a cycle. Every month, at least one of the 5 devices is sending off an alarm. We're bringing staff in to move product around. If we don't catch it in time, or if it's on a weekend, or something happens, we are discarding food that has reached a certain temperature. Kristen is so on top of that as far as food safety. If something reaches a certain temperature, she discards it just automatically. It's not a question of whether can we salvage or not. Her priority is serving safe food, safe, nutritious meals. So we have had to waste some product, and we've had to spend some resource money to move product. We've actually 2 years ago, we brought a trailer on site, a refrigerated trailer, over a period of time to save the product that we could, while 2 of the freezers were down. So it's a constant battle. It really is, and it's frustrating for Kristen and Lisa and Nancy and her staff at the high school, as well as the satellite. They do satellite to all 5 elementary schools, so the early childhood and the 4 elementary schools. So it's a lot of work, and when they have to come in every morning and try and figure out where their product disappeared to or what freezer it's in now, and they've got a system, and quite honestly, the custodian's job or whatever staff we bring in is to get that product into a freezer, not by any logical means or how they set it up, and neither would I. My job is to get it into the freezer and keep it cold, but now they have to come in and dig through twice as much product to find what they need for the day, so it can be a challenge. Far too much details for what you needed. Do you want to make a motion before we continue discussion, or did you want to?
So, can I just
In the
add?
middle, so
Okay.
keep going.
All right.
So is it okay to just add the piece about the softball field?
Absolutely.
So another piece in regard to capital that we were discussing is our girls' softball field. And just looking at not only its condition, but looking at having something on campus that the varsity can use. Right now, we do not have a varsity field on campus. The girls play, and Amy, correct me if I'm off, please. They play down at the lake.
Yeah, that's field.
That's field, and that's a men's diamond, correct?
Yeah, it's a
Which is-
men's, like, slow league softball.
Right, but it's
Field.
not regulation in regard to what the girls normally play on?
I mean, they play there, so I don't know if they change it, but it's a men's softball field.
Yeah, okay. And so one of the things that, we were talking about has been brought to our attention is that, without having a field on campus, asking the girls to play on the men's field, that this really should be a capital item. We have 2 community members, Bob Burnett and Dave Story,
Yep.
who have graciously dedicated quite a bit of time, and I think either their own resources or resources that they've raised, where they've kind of provided dimensions and what a regulation field should have. And it looks like, based on the information that they've provided, and correct me if I'm off, that neither one of our fields have kind of the dimensions that are specified. Is that accurate?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think the fields that we have are within regulation.
Right. And so, and just in talking with Brendan Kent about this, he says this is a problem, and it's something that, we need to address. And so, that's why we've added it to just capital, just to bring to the attention of DPW, and,
Where is it, Doug?
What?
so it's at, it says
No, no, I
DPW
mean
Town
on
Hall.
the list.
Oh, bottom.
Yeah.
So it's at the bottom of the list, on page 2,
Got it, okay,
right, it's
yep,
the last bullet.
Yep.
So it's just a late ad.
I see it, yeah, thank you, yeah.
And so
Glassfield, okay.
that's just where it is. And so one of the things that I think, we need to do is to just reach out and talk to, I know DPW is planning on doing a lot of work, to improve Blatt's Field. But the question still remains, you know, looking at the larger picture. Are we improving Blatt's for it to continue to be a junior varsity and freshman field, where the girls' team needs to go off campus to play? You know, I mean, just how do we accommodate the varsity team? Can we accommodate the varsity team is a question that I think we're looking at. And I know Brendan Kent is working on this as well. But I just wanted to bring it to the committee's attention.
And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but the process is, it does go to the committee, and it's actually not voted on until the May town meeting, correct?
Correct.
So this is the beginning of a long process.
Yeah.
It's 6 months.
Mhm.
Craig?
Just one question and then one just point of clarification. The question, Marie, could you just talk a little bit about the, another item that I thought was particularly important, which was the need for a new facilities master plan for the district?
Absolutely. And so many districts across the Commonwealth have developed and maintain facilities master planning, looking at the host of facilities buildings within a district, combining that and really melding it with the NEASC enrollment projections for 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years out. It really helps inform districts relative to sizing, scope, as well as recommendations for potential growth factors. And it's particularly important as well. MSBA uses those guidelines as they begin to really dig down deeper into processes supporting any of their projects. So it's something that we do not have. We do have, I shouldn't say we don't have it. It, however, was a homegrown project, and it was established in 2006. So
Right.
it's fairly outdated.
Right.
And so the dollar amount here would require professional services to come in and really assist us with the analysis and the projections.
So they come in, independent contractors, not contractors, independent consultants come in, tour every building, look at aspects of refrigeration and heating and electrical and plumbing,
MEP,
roofing.
the
They look at
structure, the
the
envelope.
building all over. So the idea is to get them to look at all 7 of our buildings.
Correct.
And potentially some town buildings also, if the town wanted it on that also, but to give us an idea of when we might need to replace or repair or renovate certain areas throughout the district.
Exactly. It'll give you the life cycle on your existing building portfolios.
Right. I think one of the reasons I wanted to highlight it is because I think it'll help this committee in terms of going into the process each year and the priority setting and clarity around, you know, what we need going forward. So just wanted to highlight that. And then just a point of, the Finance and Facilities Subcommittee heard this presentation from Maria and Mike and Doug, and we voted unanimously to recommend to the full school committee that this plan is, and voted in favor, so.
Great.
Yeah.
Can I have one more piece?
Oh, I don't know.
All right.
Just on page 3, I just don't want people to lose sight of this, or is the high school accreditation.
Right.
Okay? We have not gotten back our final report from the NEASC visit, where they did an assessment of our programs and our facilities, and kind of, you know, unofficially have given us word that we would be, that our accreditation is in jeopardy, and they'll be providing information on that. You know, what jeopardy means is that we would be moving from a warning status to a probationary status, and a probationary status is conditional, which is based upon, in this particular case, they have found that the facility is deficient in a number of different areas, and it's affecting teaching and learning, affecting programming. And so, what we've tried to do is just go to the Dora and Whittier pre-feasibility study that we have had done in 2014, 15? 16. 2016, just to provide some sense of what they would be looking to have kind of replaced. And so, and there's a really significant dollar value there. And I think that that's gonna prompt more conversation as we move into December and January, and also get feedback, not only from NEASC, but from MSBA as well. But I just wanna just highlight that for the committee, so that we don't kind of lose that.
Colleen?
Question, on that, Doug, do you have any idea of how long, so we will hopefully hear from the MSBA in mid-December, and then hopefully have that report from the NESC. So how long, do we sort of go through the process where we have to undertake these accreditation issues?
They give you an amount of time to kind of, to remedy the issues that they've highlighted. I don't know what that timeline is. I think it's different based on the needs of a facility in the community. And as they issue their report, NEASC will issue first, but as they issue that report, there should be some information in that report that will give us a timeline.
And they have knowledge that we've also applied with the school building authority, so
Correct.
that's taken into consideration, that
So,
these things we would hopefully, it would be a part of the new building.
Correct.
You wouldn't want to do them in a year later.
so they're not exclusive of one another. And so, MSBA has asked us to please provide the NEASC report when it is made public.
Right.
So that will be a contributing artifact to them trying to figure out how best to support us as well.
Okay,
Is that-
thank you.
Sure.
So, that being the case, are we able to provide some urgency to NEASC to get that report to us? Because MSBA is ready to make a decision in the next 60
Right,
days.
and so we should be hearing from NEASC this week. And so as soon as we get this report, it's coming in and it's going right over to MSBA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions of motion?
Whoops. Sorry, someone else. Do you have another question? Sorry. Move that the school committee endorse the superintendent's recommendation for the fiscal year 2020 capital requests as presented. The superintendent's recommendations will be sent to the town's capital planning group for review.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That passes unanimously.
I have two payroll warrants this evening, payroll warrant number 14 and warrant number 16 for the committee's approval.
Move that the school committee approve payroll warrants numbers 14 and 16 as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Thank you, Maria. I'm
Thank you,
sorry.
Maria.
Made and seconded. All those in favor? It's a little delayed reaction. I thought you were saying no.
Nobody gets paid. And we have 4 gifts this evening, 4 very generous gifts. The first one is a gift in the amount of $2,500 from the Wakefield Boys Soccer Club to assist in payment to varsity assistant volunteer coaches.
Move that the school committee accept with gratitude the donation of $2,500 from the Wakefield Boys Soccer Club for the varsity assistant coach for the 2018 fall season.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any questions? Discussion? All those in favor?
The next gift is from John J. Roberto, in the amount of $1,480, and that is for the purchase of a new AED defibrillator at the Wakefield Memorial High School Athletic Department.
Move that the school committee accept with gratitude the donation of $1,480 from John J. Roberto to purchase the new AED for the WHS Athletic Department.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions? I had one. Do those just expire?
No, we actually have service contracts on them, so they can expire, but the ones that we have all have service contracts on them, so they come in every year, they replace the batteries, replace all the pads, all the wires. It's great to get these donated. What doesn't usually get donated is the cost of the service contract for the life of the product, so while we're grateful to get them, we do, the school department does still pick up the service contracts on these, so they're basically, I would say that, for lack of a better word, they're refurbished every year. Brought back up to spec, make sure all the batteries are.
I guess my question is this replacing something or
No,
additional?
we continue to just add them.
Okay.
We have several in many of our buildings, a few in our smaller buildings, but every building has at least one. Most of our buildings have multiples, especially when you get to the high school. There's one in the theater, there's one other the small theater, there's, I think, one in the field house, one up at Landrigan. There's another one that's a travel one. This one actually might be the travel one to go, when the teams like go to Vetsfield. There's not one there, so the softball team would take one with them when they go to Vetsfield, so. I think the high school probably has 6 of these right now. And all the nurses' offices around the district all have one in their office also. So,
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
the third gift is a $1,000 gift from Keith's Tree Service, and this is the second of a 5-year commitment for signage on the back of the Wakefield Memorial High School Fieldhouse scoreboard.
Move that the school committee accept with gratitude the donation of $1,000 from Keith's Tree Service. Funds are for a sign on the back of the WMHS Fieldhouse scoreboard.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
And the final gift of the evening is a gift of $1,500 from the Wakefield Alliance Against Violence. This gift is to pay a stipend for the MVP, Mentor and Violence Prevention Advisor.
Move that the school committee accept with gratitude the donation of $1,500 from the Wakefield Alliance Against Violence to pay a stipend for the MVP advisor.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Under Chair's comments, Mr. Markham was called away from out to Springfield for work and was unable to make tonight's meeting. He thought he might get here, but he wasn't sure. So I don't have any prepared comments. There is a correction on 8B. There was a typo from Mr. Markham that had us at December 8th. The correct date is the 15th of December for our retreat.
For our retreat, okay.
Okay. And superintendent's remarks.
Thank you, Chris. So I just wanted to report briefly on a few items and things that we've been working on. We participated, myself, our director of our Metco program, Joel Villegas, as well as TJ Liberty, principal of the Dolbear School, attended the Metco retreat on November 1st. And so this is the first of a retreat like this. The retreat was facilitated by the Department of Education. The keynote at the retreat was the commissioner, Jeff Riley. And the reason for the retreat is because the Metco Incorporated has a new chief executive officer. Her name is Millie Abaje Thomas. And, one of the things that she is working on is really trying to improve not only communication, but also kind of to get out to districts to see how Metco Inc. in Boston can best support students that are in districts that they're working with. And it's interesting because not a lot of people know that Metco started in the civil rights movement in 1966 with 6 districts. They're now serving in the greater Boston area 28 districts. And Wakefield has been a member for, I want to say, almost 4 decades. And so we were kind of in that first round that were partner communities. And so in students that are part of the Metco program that come to suburban districts are faring really well. Academically, the students are doing well. They're graduating at really high percentages. Their MCAS scores are really competitive. And so we're really pleased to be a partner district in this program. The retreat was really to focus on a new mission and vision statement, and to again focus on how Metco can support the work that's happening in the district. And that includes professional development, PD around cultural competency, as well as hiring and kind of academic programming outside of the school day as well. So we're really excited to be part of that conversation and to contribute there. And we're also very pleased to see the new CEO, Millie, and kind of and to watch her work and to reshape kind of the next generation of leaders and families that they'll be serving through Metco. I don't know if anyone has any questions on that. Yes.
Not a question, but just a suggestion, only because I know our next meeting is focused on Metco. Would it be worth inviting Millie to join us?
It's interesting. I thought of that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I don't know that she could fit it into her schedule, but I think we're absolutely going to invite her.
Yeah, okay, great.
And it's one thing to hear me describe
Right.
kind of what a large personality she is. There's another thing entirely to meet her. I think that she won't kind of let down that billing, and I think that if we can get her there, that would be terrific.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's a great idea.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Doug? So I've been thinking a lot about our work as a district towards cultural competency, having our students have more of a global focus, and, just sort of the conversation about Metco sort of lends itself to that continued conversation. And I'm wondering if there's been thought around any professional development, yes, for the faculty and the staff that might be more than just a sort of one afternoon kind of thing, but more of an ongoing type of process where, folks are more immersed in sort of recognizing kind of their views of a variety of cultures and sort of the impacts, that they have on students of color, students, English language learners, sort of maybe even unintentional kinds of things, which I think could be difficult in some ways and awkward and uncomfortable, but I think necessary in light of, sort of recent kind of events happening in our country.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, just to share some of the work that we're doing. We're in year 2 of a cultural competency action research group. So last year, a cohort of teachers led by Jill Villegas, our Metco director, and a consultant from Metco came here to facilitate meetings with our teachers. And we had a cohort that started with about 10 teachers that had teachers from elementary, middle, and high, a few counselors that were really passionate about kind of making sure that we're understanding and providing well for all of our students. And so they kind of took this work on initially. The group has grown from 10 to 14, and it's really, they're doing some really nice work. And they are investigating a short documentary coming to Wakefield in the spring to really highlight kind of this cultural competency and kind of the issues that come up around what it means to be culturally competent, or what are the challenges that our students face to be one of a few students in a community. What do they think? How do they feel? And one of the things that they have done, which is particularly powerful, is that they've had a panel of students come and speak to this group. And it was just really kind of moving. I think that there were, some tears shed on both sides, both on the part of students and the adults, who didn't realize like all that these students are juggling to kind of get up in the kind of the length of their day. Most of the students that are taking the bus from Boston, it's a 10-hour school day. By the time they get here, by the time they get in, by the time they get settled, There's a later afternoon bus. A lot of our Galvin students are participating in after-school programs at Galvin, which we're particularly pleased about, and that was one of the changes that we've made this year. And so those are things that we're working on currently. And so last year, that cohort worked for 15 hours over the course of the entire year. This year, they're also working for 15 hours again, but they're also kind of partnering with other groups. And also they're bringing in the short doc to kind of increase kind of who is paying attention and who is learning about this. So we're pleased at where it's going. Just some big ideas that we're talking about is how to kind of create offerings for teachers and make that part of our kind of induction to new teachers coming into the district. How could we do work similar to similar work that is happening in some other districts where teachers have a three-year window to participate in a cultural competency work or a cultural competency course that will help them become more effective teachers and more aware of their student needs. So that's kind of very quick, but I hope I answered your question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's terrific. And just as an aside, the organization called Facing History
Yeah.
and Ourselves
Yeah.
offers tremendous resources for that type of thing as well. So I'm sure you know about them.
No,
Just
that's,
throwing it all out there.
no, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any other questions about the METCO retreat? No? So I'd also like to just kind of share about some of the work that the Wakefield Education Foundation is doing. So we met last week to review grants, and I believe that there were 34 grants that were, I think people made application for 34 grants. It's really just a great experience. So there's essentially $50,000 in grant applications for a $30,000 budget. And the $30,000 budget are monies that are raised by the Wakefield Education Foundation to support kind of innovative teacher projects and things that we do not normally fund through our local budget. So we're particularly grateful. The group is just a really terrific group of parents and volunteers, and they struggle mightily to figure out how they can just stretch this $30,000 to try to make sure everyone gets a little something. I think the hardest thing that they have to do is to say no, or that they can't fund. Some things need to be funded through the local budget, for example, like books and things like that. And so, but that even pains them just to know that they can't support 100% of the grants, and they just really have been so wonderful to partner with and to work with. And I just wanted to thank them and all of the parents that participated on the review panel, including Colleen Guida. So thank you. Much appreciated.
It was a good night.
It's a terrific night. Just a really terrific night. Just other things, just to kind of keep the committee up to date on professional development. On election day, it was a professional development day for us, which was a change. And we also moved all of our teachers that were going to be at Galvin to the high school, just to make space for parking and all the traffic that they had there. I had heard that the turnout was significant for the midterm elections, which is terrific. But the professional development day that was happening here and in the elementary schools was just terrific. Our principals, our curriculum coordinators, our teacher leaders, our department coordinators, our special education staff, all led or participated in some type of professional development during that day. And when we got around to look at the PD that was happening, teachers were engaged, they were collaborating, just a really great day. And I want to thank the leadership for their work in planning that and kind of executing just a wonderful day. And thank you to the Galvin staff for being so flexible and just kind of moving over to the high school, which is much appreciated. And so just the last piece that I'd like to report on is just our locally at the town meeting, there was a vote to kind of replenish the Special Education Stabilization Fund in the amount of $500,000. And I want to thank the Finance Committee, Dan Sherman particularly, and also Steve Mayo for really just guiding me through this process for the first time, but also being an ally for us in this work. It's really much appreciated. But just want to let the committee know that as well.
On the same vein as the PD day for election.
Yep.
Have you come up with a solution for April yet?
So what Chris is referring to is there's a local election on April 23rd. It's the Tuesday after April vacation. And so because it is a smaller local election, we are going to have it at Galvin. At least that's what the plan is right now. It could change, but the plan right now, which I think we're probably about 90%, is that we will have school that day. Galvin will function as it always has. We will not have voting in the cafeteria, but we will have voting in the gym. And so we're going to work with the administration there and teacher leaders on this as well. So
See, parking is a problem, but okay.
parking is going to be, we have to figure it out. We have to figure it out with only 2 professional days. And the calendar was submitted and accepted by school committee. We did this when was it accepted? In May? Yeah. So, we have iterations of the calendar. When we create it and we kind of make edits. But during that time, that's the plan that we did not plan for the 23rd of April being a voting day at Galvin. But we're happy to partner, with the town and support them in any way we can and figure it out. But that's the plan right now.
Okay. Yes.
I just wanted to say, Doug, just a note, I appreciated the email summary you sent to us in advance for these items, because, just gets us thinking and maybe prompting some good questions, prior to the meeting. So if you're able to do that in the future.
I will absolutely
encourage
try
it.
to do that. No, thank you.
Okay. Subcommittee reports, finance and facilities.
Our meeting prior to town meeting on November 5th was focused on the capital plan that we discussed tonight, and we've got another meeting scheduled for December.
Great. Labor relations, have you met, Colleen?
You've not met.
Okay. And there's nothing to report for policy either. Student services, Ann?
So we just met before this meeting, and we are, we're a new subcommittee. So we're finding our way. So I think, our sort of initial work was, because one of our charges or one of our priorities is really looking to see what services students who are part of the special education department here, what their needs are. So we have a draft document that we've been reviewing that was a kind of an assessment or a report that an outside consultant had done. So we've been getting some information from that to kind of see where that might take us in terms of what our work is going to be. But my hope, and I don't know if I'm necessarily speaking on behalf of the committee, so if I'm not, please share, the other members here, is that I think the next time we meet, I think we're going to try and get a stronger vision of essentially what we want to study. So what we're hoping to do is sort of think of what our essential question is. It can't be too big, it can't be too little, and we just want to be able to see, what is it that we want to know more about. And then from there, gather data, gather information, in terms of how that might influence policy or budget. So we're still in that phase right now. So we have some ideas, but we're still working through them. So I know that's a little ambiguous, but that's kind of where we're at, to be perfectly honest. So, but it's been great fun so far. It's a good group.
Okay, any future agenda items?
I had a request to, and I'm not sure if our liaison already emailed Tom, but in light of our meeting in Boston, can we add our Human Rights Commission liaison to give us an update or review at that meeting? We had talked about it, and I knew that meeting was come up in Boston and felt it was kind of the right place and time.
As long as they were able to make the trip to Boston.
That's mostly confirmed.
Okay.
So I just didn't know if that was an appropriate place for our liaison to give an update or review, or just wanted to put it out there. So,
It's a regular meeting. Just the fact that it's in Boston doesn't make it inappropriate.
well, we have different guests maybe.
Yeah.
So, sort of the focus or the in light of the different guests and attendees that we might have.
So we might get different feedback, you're right.
So the Human Rights Commission is coming to our Boston meeting? which
Well, if we decided that we could put her on the agenda.
Yeah.
She had an interest in being on the agenda, an upcoming agenda anyway, and when I looked at our schedule and saw that we were meeting in Boston, I asked if she was open to that, and she really was excited by that, so it was sort of, I just said I would bring it up at this meeting.
Okay.
Yes, she's our liaison, yes.
Okay. I thought it was, so that she's coming, so Pina's coming, as well as another gentleman from HRC. But is there another HRC liaison appointed by school committee?
I thought we appointed, did we appoint just one? I thought
There's
it
there's a student liaison
Yeah.
that is appointed by the superintendent, I believe.
Okay.
You have some,
You probably did that and forgot.
Yeah,
I'm quite sure I didn't.
right, but,
and then I believe Pina is our HRC, is that right?
That's right,
We,
yes.
I think that was in the spring.
Yes,
That we
yeah.
appointed her as
Yeah.
our liaison.
Weren't there like 2 elected, one for 1 year, one for 2 years? So there might be.
There
more
might
than
be one that's, that is serving their second year, is that what you're saying? And then
Yes,
she
right,
could be,
I think
yeah.
that's right.
Maybe that's who you heard
The
from,
first,
Doug?
I think the first time there was 2 people elected, one for 1 year, one for 2, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, we did change it the second time we voted for the appointments, yeah.
Well, I think there's a little bit of a difference between what a liaison is and who we appoint.
Right,
So,
Oh, yeah, I might be using the wrong word.
no, I think she is the connection to
Right,
school committee.
right,
And she also happens to be in one of the positions that we appointed.
right, okay.
I think
Yeah, I
that's.
think that's right.
Yeah,
That
but
makes
there's
sense.
also, I think we appoint 2.
right.
We point to.
Yeah.
But
And-
I think the bottom line is that I see no reason not to add it to the agenda.
Whether it be one or the other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Great.
and it wouldn't
Whoever
hurt
may
to
be.
invite our student, too.
That would be great.
And note that our next meeting,
She's like, I've got a lot of homework.
I'm not sure she's on the HR.
No, what I meant was our.
I know,
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
what
you
you
know.
Okay, and just note that our next meeting will be with the Metco families at the Bethel AME Church at 40 Walk Hill Street in Jamaica Plain.
Do we know the start time, Chris?
There's nothing noted.
6 to 9.
6 to 9, thank you.
We have to be out
We have to
by
be
9.
out by 9.
Out by 9, but we
Right,
have a
right,
dinner, a social time before, then the formal meeting.
And that
Okay.
is on
6 to
Tuesday,
9.
November 27th.
Yeah,
Okay?
got it, thank you.
Any school committee comments?
6.
Colleen?
No comments, thank you.
Amy?
No comments, thank you.
I'm all set.
Okay, I would like to add that on the Thanksgiving Day football game, for anybody who's unable to attend the game, that WCAT will be broadcasting it live. The game starts at 10 a.m., and Mr. Stapleton would appreciate a viewer audience. With that, we have a motion to adjourn.
Move that the school committee adjourn its meeting of Tuesday, November 13th, 2018.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. All those in favor? Thank you, and the meeting's adjourned.